My parents told me to figure it out myself while I was bleeding internally in the back of an ambulance. I had just been hit by a truck. Doctors were waiting to take me into surgery. My 4-year-old twins were home with a babysitter who had to leave in 40 minutes. So I called my parents. I said, "Please, I just need someone to sit with Lily and Lucas until I can get emergency care arranged." My mother did not answer. Instead, she sent one message into our family group chat. "We have Taylor Swift tickets with Vanessa tonight. You have always been a nuisance and a burden. Figure it out yourself." Then my sister reacted to it with a laughing emoji. My father added, "You're a doctor. Stop making everything dramatic." That was the moment I stopped paying their mortgage, their health insurance, their car repairs, their emergencies, their entire comfortable life. 2 weeks later, my grandfather invited the whole family to his 70th birthday dinner. My parents thought it was a normal family celebration. They had no idea my grandfather had copies of every payment I had ever made for them. Welcome back to Valora Stories. My name is Myra Whitmore. This is how my family called me a burden while quietly living off my money, then learned what happens when the daughter who carries everyone finally puts the weight down. I was 38 when this happened. I was an attending cardiologist at a hospital outside Philadelphia. I had spent most of my adult life studying how to keep people alive when their bodies failed them. I understood pressure. I understood emergencies. I understood what it looked like when someone was drowning quietly and pretending they were fine. But I did not understand my own life. Not for a long time. I was the younger daughter in my family, the practical one, the dependable one, the one who was expected to fix things without being asked. My sister Vanessa was 3 years older than me. She was beautiful in the easy way. Funny, stylish, the kind of person who could walk into a room late and somehow make everyone feel like the night had officially started. When Vanessa said she wanted to study fashion design, my mother cried. My father called her our little visionary. When I said I wanted to become a doctor, Dad smiled once and said, "That's practical." That was all. Vanessa was a dream. I was a plan. At the time, I told myself I did not care. I buried myself in school. I worked harder. I got into medical school, then residency, then a cardiology fellowship. By the time I became an attending physician, I had spent nearly half my life proving I could handle anything. My parents loved that about me, not me. The fact that I could handle things. When Vanessa had her first fashion show in New York, my parents flew out early. They stayed at a 5-star hotel. My dad posted photo after photo. So proud of our talented girl. When I graduated from medical school, my parents arrived almost 2 hours late. My mother said Vanessa had a meeting with a designer and needed a ride. They took one photo of me in the parking lot, then left before dinner. I told myself it was fine. Medicine was stable. Vanessa's career was unpredictable. She needed more support. I could handle things. That sentence followed me through most of my life. I could handle things. When I got pregnant with twins, their father disappeared during my 5th month. He left a note on the kitchen counter that said he was not ready for this kind of life. I remember staring at it for a long time, then sitting down because my legs stopped working. I called my mother. I did not ask for money. I did not ask her to fix anything. I just wanted her to come sit with me. She sounded sympathetic for about 10 seconds. Then she said Vanessa was having a difficult week after a show in Milan. "She really needs us right now," Mom said. I remember holding the phone against my ear. I was pregnant, scared, alone. And somehow, Vanessa's stressful week mattered more. Still, I kept trying. That was my mistake. I confused being needed with being loved. 6 years before the accident, Dad called me one night. His voice sounded tight, embarrassed. "Myra, we're in a bind." I asked what happened. He said the mortgage payment was due and money was short that month. Could I help? Just once. I transferred $2,400 that night. I did not even hesitate. They were my parents. Of course I would help. But just once became the next month. Then the month after that. Then Dad's insurance coverage changed after he left his job. Mom said they needed help for a few months. Then Dad's car needed repairs. Then the roof leaked. Then the water heater died. Then Vanessa had a temporary issue with a client and needed help covering her studio rent. Every time, I told myself it was temporary. Every time I sent the money. Eventually, the transfers became automatic. Mortgage, insurance, emergency expenses. I never called them support. I called them family help. That made it easier to keep doing it. By the time the accident happened, I had spent 6 years paying for pieces of my parents' life. More than $200,000. I had a spreadsheet. Every payment, every date, every transfer. I do not know why I kept it. Maybe part of me knew I would need proof one day. Or maybe I just needed to see, in black and white, how much of myself I had been giving away. Then came Tuesday. I had just finished a long day at the hospital. I was driving home through an intersection a few blocks from my apartment. The light turned green. I started forward. Then a truck ran the red light. I never saw it coming. The impact hit my driver's side hard enough to spin my car across 2 lanes. Glass exploded. Metal folded. The world turned sideways. Then, black. I woke up in an ambulance. A paramedic was pressing something against my side. There was blood on my shirt. Blood on my hands. Pain everywhere. A doctor I worked with, Marcus Smith, leaned over me. "Myra, stay awake." I tried to sit up. "My kids." "They're okay," Marcus said quickly. "You're the one we need to focus on. Lily and Lucas are with the babysitter." My throat tightened. "She leaves at 8. Marcus looked at his watch. "It's 7:15. I had 45 minutes to find someone to sit with my children while doctors cut me open. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely unlock my phone. I called Dad. He answered after 4 rings. "Myra, we're about to leave. What is it?" "Dad." My voice broke. "I was in an accident. I'm being taken into surgery. Please, I need someone with Lily and Lucas until I can arrange care." There was silence. Then I heard muffled voices. My mother. Vanessa. A laugh in the background. Dad said, "Hold on." The line went dead. A few seconds later, my phone buzzed. Family group chat. My mother's message appeared. "We have Taylor Swift tickets with Vanessa tonight. You have always been a nuisance and a burden. Figure it out yourself." I read it twice. Then a third time. The words did not change. Another message appeared. "Dad, you work in hospitals. You know how these things go. Don't make it bigger than it is." Then Vanessa reacted with a laughing emoji. That was all. A laughing emoji. While I was lying in an ambulance with internal bleeding. Marcus had seen my face. He did not ask to read the messages. He just held out his phone. "Use mine," he said. I searched emergency nanny services with blood on my fingers. I found one that had overnight availability. I explained my situation in short, clipped sentences. Yes, I could pay triple. Yes, the nanny could enter through the front door. Yes, my regular sitter would stay until she arrived. The emergency nanny got to my apartment before the babysitter left. A stranger made sure my children were safe. A stranger cared more about my emergency than my own parents did. The surgery lasted 4 hours. My spleen had ruptured. I had internal bleeding. Marcus later told me I had come dangerously close to not making it. I spent 5 days in the hospital. 5 days of pain medication, IV drips, blood pressure checks, and nurses waking me every few hours. Not one call from my parents, not one visit, not one apology. On the 3rd day, I asked a nurse to bring me my laptop. She looked concerned. "You should rest." "I need to take care of something." My hands were steady when I logged into my bank account. That surprised me. I opened the list of automatic payments. Mortgage, insurance, emergency fund. The account I had used whenever Vanessa had a temporary setback. For years, I had thought those payments made me a good daughter. That day they looked different. They looked like chains. I canceled every one. Then I blocked my father, my mother, Vanessa. There was no dramatic breakdown, no crying, no screaming. It felt like setting down a weight I had carried for so long that I had forgotten it was there. 2 weeks later, I was home. I was moving slowly. My incision hurt when I laughed. Lily and Lucas had learned to be gentle around me. They would climb onto the couch, point at my stomach, and whisper, "Mommy boo-boo." One Saturday morning, I was making pancakes when someone knocked at the door. 3 sharp knocks. I looked through the peephole. My grandfather Thomas was standing outside. Silver hair, dark blue coat, the same straight posture he had carried for 30 years as a federal judge. I had not seen him in nearly 3 years. My parents always had excuses. We were too busy. The twins were too young. He was too far away. But there he was, standing on my doorstep. I opened the door. He hugged me so tightly it almost hurt. Then he pulled back and looked at me. Really looked. At my face. At the scar beneath my sweater. At the way I was still holding my side. "I know," he said. My throat tightened. "Grandpa." Aunt Eleanor called me the night it happened. Aunt Eleanor was my mother's younger sister. She was the only person in the family who had ever looked at my parents and said, "This is not normal." Grandpa looked past me. Lily and Lucas were standing in the hallway, holding hands. He crouched down. "Hello, you two." Lily stared at him. "Are you Mommy's grandpa?" He smiled. "I am." Lucas nodded seriously. "Mommy got hurt." Grandpa looked at me again. "I know." He came inside. He sat at my kitchen table while the twins showed him their blocks. I made coffee. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. Then Grandpa wrapped both hands around his mug. "I have watched your parents favor Vanessa for years," he said. I told myself it was not my place to interfere. I looked down. "You are not imagining it, Myra." Something inside my chest loosened. Not loudly. Just enough to let the truth in. Grandpa continued. "Eleanor told me about the hospital, the message, the tickets." I nodded. "I did not want to bother you with it." "You did not bother me." His voice changed. "They abandoned my granddaughter while she was being taken into surgery." He reached across the table. "Do you still have records of the money you sent them?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Every transfer." "Good." He sat back. "My 70th birthday dinner is next Saturday." I looked at him. "The whole family will be there." "Yes." "And you want me to come?" "I want you to bring the records." My stomach tightened. "Why?" Grandpa's face did not change. "Because your parents have already started calling people." I went still. "What?" "Vanessa has been telling relatives you are unstable after the accident, that you cut them off for no reason." My chest went cold. "They are preparing the room before you enter it." He leaned forward. "So we will prepare the truth." The next week, I made one folder. Not a revenge folder, a factual one. Every mortgage payment, every insurance payment, every car repair, every transfer marked emergency. 6 years, 72 months. More than $200,000. Aunt Eleanor came over 3 days before Grandpa's dinner. She flipped through the pages without speaking. Then she stopped. Her face went pale. "They called you a burden." I nodded. "And all this time, they were living off you." I did not answer. Because seeing the numbers in one place made it worse. Not because of the money, because of what it proved. I had spent 6 years buying stability for people who would not give me 4 hours of childcare during a medical emergency. Grandpa's birthday dinner was at his house outside Philadelphia. A large colonial home, white columns, warm lights, a long driveway filled with cars. The twins stayed home with a nanny that night. I went alone. I wore a simple navy dress. No dramatic jewelry, no revenge outfit. I did not want to look like I was trying to make a statement. I wanted to look like someone who had nothing to hide. Inside, the house was full. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. My parents were near the fireplace. Dad wore a dark suit. Mom wore cream silk and pearls. Vanessa stood between them in a designer dress, laughing loudly. They looked comfortable. That was the strange part. They looked comfortable because they still believed I would protect them. Mom saw me first. Her smile faded. Dad's face went stiff. Vanessa walked over. She leaned in like she was going to air kiss my cheek. "Oh, Myra, you made it." I stepped back. Her smile paused. "We heard about your little accident," she said. "Nothing too serious, I hope?" I looked her in the eyes. "I had internal bleeding and emergency surgery." Her face changed for half a second. Then she recovered. "Mom said it was a fender bender." Mom was not there. Vanessa's smile tightened. "Well, you look fine now." Then she walked away. 30 minutes later, my parents began their performance. Vanessa stood near the dessert table with a few aunts and cousins. Her voice was just loud enough for people nearby to hear. "I'm worried about Myra," she said. Mom sighed dramatically. "The accident has been very hard on her." Someone asked what she meant. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. "She has cut us off completely. She will not take our calls. She has been making claims that simply are not true." Dad stepped in. "We only want the best for her." I stood across the room holding a glass of water. For a moment, the old version of me almost appeared. The one who would stay quiet, the one who would accept the lie because confrontation felt worse than being misunderstood. Then I felt the edge of the folder inside my bag. And I remembered the ambulance, the blood on my hands, my mother choosing concert tickets, my sister laughing. Aunt Eleanor came to stand beside me. "They are trying to make you look unstable before anyone asks why you cut them off," she whispered. "I know. Are you okay?" I looked toward Grandpa. He was sitting near the fireplace, watching, waiting. He gave me one small nod. I nodded back. A few minutes later, someone tapped a spoon against a glass. Grandpa stood. The room quieted. He did not smile. He did not make a speech about turning 70. He looked around the room and said, "Before dinner, I want to address something." Dad stepped forward immediately. "Dad, before you say anything, I think the family should know Myra has been having a difficult time." Grandpa looked at him. "Richard." Dad kept going. "After her accident, she has been confused, emotional. She has cut contact with us and accused us of abandoning her." Mom joined him. "We have tried everything," Vanessa added softly. "She has always been sensitive." The room went quiet. I could feel people looking at me, wondering, measuring, deciding whether they believed them. Then Grandpa asked one question. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "Richard, who has been paying your mortgage?" Dad froze. "What? Your mortgage?" Grandpa reached into his jacket and removed a folder. He had made copies. Dad looked at me, then at Grandpa, then back at me. Grandpa opened the folder. "For 72 consecutive months, a payment of $2,400 left Myra's account and went to your mortgage lender." The room made a sound, not loud, just shocked. Mom's hand moved toward Dad's arm. Grandpa turned one page. "Health insurance premiums, $800 per month for nearly 4 years." Another page. "Car repairs, home repairs, emergency transfers." Then he looked up. "Would either of you like to explain why your daughter has been financially supporting you for years?" Dad's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Mom finally whispered, "She offered." Grandpa nodded once. "Yes, she did." He turned another page. "And when Myra asked for help during a medical emergency, what did you offer her?" Mom's face changed. Vanessa went pale. Grandpa took out his phone. "I have the message." Dad stepped forward. "Dad, don't." Grandpa looked at him. "Do you deny it?" Dad stopped. The whole room held its breath. Grandpa read the message exactly. "Myra, you have always been a nuisance and a burden. We have Taylor Swift tickets with Vanessa tonight. Figure it out yourself." Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. My sister's laughing emoji was visible beneath it. I watched several relatives look at Vanessa. Really look at her. Maybe for the first time. Mom began crying, not softly, not elegantly. She covered her face with both hands. I was frustrated, she said. I did not know it was that serious. Grandpa's voice stayed even. She told you she was going into surgery. Dad said, we thought she was exaggerating. Something inside me went still. Not anger. Something colder, cleaner. I stepped forward. For once, I did not let Grandpa speak for me. I took the folder from his hands. I looked at my parents, then at Vanessa, then at every person in that room. I did not cut them off because they missed one emergency. I looked at my parents. I cut them off because I was bleeding in an ambulance, asking someone to sit with my children, and they chose a concert. Nobody moved. For years, I thought I was the strong daughter. I swallowed. But I was not strong to you. Mom looked up. I was convenient. I looked at the folder on Grandpa's table. I was not reliable. Then I looked at Dad. I was exploitable. Dad lowered his eyes. I am not here to make anyone hate you, I said. I am here because I am done paying for people who would not show up for me for one night. Then I picked up my folder. And I am done confusing being useful with being loved. No one interrupted, not because everyone suddenly agreed, not because everyone suddenly became fair, but because there was no lie left to hide behind. My parents left early. Mom was still crying. Dad held her elbow as they walked out. Vanessa followed them. She did not look at me. Several relatives came over afterward. Some apologized. Some admitted they had believed my parents when they said I was distant or difficult. A few said nothing. Honestly, I respected that more than fake sympathy. The people who mattered stayed. Grandpa sat beside me at the end of the night. He looked tired. You did not need me to save you, he said. I looked at him. You gave me a room where they had to listen. He nodded. Sometimes that is all justice is. 3 months later, I opened 2 savings accounts. One for Lily, one for Lucas. The same amount I used to send my parents every month went into those accounts. Not out of revenge, not because I wanted my parents to suffer, but because I finally understood where my responsibility belonged. My children, my peace, my future. A few months after that, Vanessa called me. I almost did not answer, but I did. Her voice sounded different, smaller. She said she was sorry, not perfectly, not in a way that erased anything, but differently. She told me she had spent years enjoying being the favorite without ever asking who was paying the price. I said, then start there. She did not ask me for money. She did not ask me to forgive her. She just said she was trying to stand on her own feet. I hope she does. As for my parents, I do not know what comes next. Maybe they will change. Maybe they will not. But I stopped waiting for their apology before deciding whether I could move forward. The day I canceled those payments, I did not lose my family. I lost the job they had quietly assigned me. The fixer, the payer, the daughter who never needed anything. And for the first time in my life, I got to become something else. Free. Have you ever realized someone only loved what you could do for them? And what state are you watching from?